Good morning, or is it afternoon? Afternoon here on the East Coast. Good morning out on the West Coast and in the Central Time Zone. Hey, I'm just going to hang out for a bit to just give a couple of people a chance to join us. Always fun. I'm always looking forward to this time of the week, man. Get to hang out with you guys and, hopefully share some insights, some valuable insights. So looking forward to doing that this week. Feel free to join in the conversation, ask questions, make comments, the whole works, right? Looking forward to chatting this week with you guys. I'll hang out a little bit more. Still trying to find the sweet spot here. All right, guys. Hey, it's Wednesday, baby. It's the best day of the week, I contend. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. This is a time when we connect. And again, doesn't matter how the week started out. We are at the middle of the week and we're going to work hand in hand to get over the hump and finish the week strong. Of course, I'm chatting with everyone here from LinkedIn and Facebook and streaming on YouTube. And of course, my friends over here on Instagram. Sky Mom, thanks for joining us. Where are you joining us from? But yeah, it's always great to be able to connect. And this week, I want to talk about, making a first impression, how to make a first impression. When I was in basic training, this is 100 years ago, the instructors would have us shout. They'll always remind us and have us shout out the fact that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so you must make the first impression count. Yes, Miss Yardi. Great to connect. Right. So you have to make the first impression count. And this is not just something that, a bunch of recruits would repeat, shout out because the instructors make them say it. It's actually true. It holds true in so many situations, from job interviews to sales to business meetings to dates and all kinds of social events. There are studies that they have done that have shown that first impressions do last, right? And that's why it's so important, man, that you make your first impression good, right? You have to do everything because you only get one chance, right? One chance to get it right. So you have to do everything in your power to improve your odds. In business, your first impression could decide whether or not you get that job, right? During the interview, it could decide whether or not you're able to convince the client to choose to purchase whatever it is that you're selling, your goods or services. It could determine whether or not you get a second date or a third date, right? It could determine that. Having or making a bad first impression could cost you money, could cost you opportunity. Making a good first impression could establish relationships with people and in the process help you achieve your goals. My friends on Instagram, I'm switching back and forth. I have some banners here that I'll share that unfortunately you won't get to see. So forgive me. Hey Warren, great to see you, man. Therefore, yeah. So great. So my banners, let me pull them up, right? So the thing is that you have to recognize is that as human beings, we are wired. We're built to size each other up like instantly, quickly. How quickly? In the blink of an eye. Yes. Can you imagine that? In the blink of an eye. In other words, we form an impression of someone we're seeing for the first time in the space of time that it takes our eyes to blink, literally, right? And then we take a whole another 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3 seconds to form a quote unquote complete uh, picture, to come to a complete conclusion about this new person that we're meeting in terms of their presumed personality and their competence. Now, you and I know that that's not nearly enough time to accurately evaluate someone, but we do become attached to those initial impressions, and they're difficult to change. It's very difficult for us to change our opinion. You know how our minds work, right? We create a belief, we form an opinion, we make a judgment, and then we start looking for all the evidence to prove ourselves right. Right. So that's the challenge there. So the question is, let me go back to my thing here. What factors go into making a first impression? Well, one of them is our face. Facial appearance goes a long way into making a first impression. The face and the judgments we make about others. And of course, they're also making similar judgments about us, right? All of those judgments play a powerful role in how we treat them and how they treat us. So the face will be the first thing. The next thing then would be your overall appearance, your attire, how you dress, your weight, etc. All of that is going to play a role into people's first impressions of us. Psychologists have long believed that, or long known, that attractive people get better outcomes in practically every area of our lives. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But the person that is seen as good looking, better attractive, is going to get the lucky breaks, let's say. All right. So facial appearance, overall appearance, and then unconscious biases. And I think we know that. And it's one of those things that's kind of swirling around there right now in all the discussions, about Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, right? This unconscious biases, as it were, right? So yeah, we create this initial impression in the blink of an eye, but it's influenced oftentimes by those impulses that we're not so aware of, and it then dictates how we will respond to somebody else. So trying to keep up with my banners here. Forgive me. Unconscious bias. So this is the crux of the matter, right? Because it's really important. How do you create a good first impression if you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and you need to make the first impression last, as my instructors told me in basic training? Well, here's the thing. It's important that you become aware of how you come across. All of us need to be aware of how we come across during a first meeting, right? And once you have identify how you come across, then you can employ impression management skills, right? In other words, you're going to have to modulate, you're going to have to tone down the not so savory parts or those irritating traits that you may have, and then you emphasize, you accentuate your strengths to ensure that people have a more favorable form a more favorable opinion of you. So everything from your clothing style to your posture to your conversational topics, and all of that has to be adjusted. Wave to somebody there. All of that needs to be adjusted in order to form a better first impression, right? You have to make sure, like I said before, you only get one chance. You have to make sure that you get off on the right foot, and it all comes down to, I'm going to share with you a few areas that really matters. Not keeping up with my banners here, forgive me. So the first thing is that you have to know your context, man. You need to understand your context. Where are you um, having this first encounter? Is it on a job interview? Is it a formal job interview? Are you on I don't know, a dinner date? Are you at a picnic? Are you hanging out at the park? Whatever it is. That is going to determine, first of all, how you're dressed, right? If you're going for a formal job interview, gentlemen, you need to be dressed up a little bit, shirt, tie, jacket, ladies, a nice dress or whatever it is. But you'll not necessarily wear the same thing to a picnic, right? You wouldn't necessarily be dressed like that on a first date as well. It just kind of depends. Again, context matters. The context is going to determine, quite frankly, the kind of language that you speak, or the kind of language that you use, the how relaxed and loose you allow yourself to be. All of those things are important. So don't forget, friends, that context matters all the time, right? So the second thing that I would encourage you to do to create a good first impression is to prepare talking points. Now, that may not necessarily apply when you're going on a first date, right? But if you're going on a business meeting, you're going on a job interview, you ought to have 2 or 3, I'm going to put that up here, 2 or 3 points that you feel are important that you like to make. You're going to a business meeting, same thing, right? You have to have those points that you think you would want to make. That means you kind of have to do some homework before you want to create a first impression, right? It requires work, it requires effort. So you're going to do your homework before, and hopefully during the meeting, as you're chit-chatting away and sharing ideas, you are able to naturally bring up those talking points in the conversation, right? Because that's going to show that you understand the problem that the company, the other person, the customer is trying to solve, and then you're demonstrating how your skills and your knowledge can put you in a position to help. Now, let's say you went through the entire conversation and you didn't get to bring up those points. Well, you go, hey, you know what, John? Before we end the meeting, here are a couple of things I was thinking about that I didn't get a chance to mention, right? Yeah, I didn't put those talking points up. I didn't get a chance to mention, and you mention them because again, you are bringing up ideas that the other person will think is important to them. And what you're doing also is showcasing your knowledge and your strategic planning abilities and your grasp of the company, your grasp of the business, your grasp of the industry. I mean, I do this all the time. I mean, when I have, and I did it just yesterday actually, when I have a client who is expressing an interest in me coming to speak for them, we often have an initial conversation. And really, I know nothing about the company from that initial email, except maybe the name of the company or even what the meeting is about. But they want to talk to me to see if there's a good fit. And so the onus is on me to go research that company, to go find out what it is that they do, and as best as I can, try to figure out what are some of the challenges that they may be facing, and then think about my message, my story, and what ideas I can share with them. So in that conversation, I'm listening first and asking questions, and then I'm going back to my prepared points. And yes, it works, because in the end they're like, well, yeah, you make sense. You're touching all the points that we would like you to share in the meeting. So make sure you prepare your points. Number 3 is my friends here on LinkedIn and so on can see these banners. So I apologize, my friends over in Instagram. But number 3 is this. See that? Smile, man. Smile. Number 3 is that you have to smile. Nobody wants to um, be in a meeting, or nobody's going to be attracted to, a person who comes with this long, dreary face, right? A confident, relaxed smile. A confident, relaxed smile is the best way, I would argue, initially, to put people at ease. And scientists have found that smiling is such an important social cue, and others will respond to your smile with smiles back, because it really connects with them at both a conscious and a subliminal level as well, right? A conscious and unconscious level. They're like, this person looks like a nice person, somebody I would like, right? You're smiling, they look pleasant, they look engaging and endearing. And so, yes, smile. Walk about 876. 876 tells me that you're in Jamaica. Assertive. Yeah, but don't overdo it, right? Remember that you're trying to make a first impression, and I agree. I would change the word assertive to confident, right? So, because when you turn up and you're smiling, it is saying that you have a certain amount of confidence. In fact, you're projecting confidence as well, and that's really important, right? Just your body language says, yes, this person knows what they're for. So make sure you're smiling, you're projecting that confidence. And then number 4, 1 second there, is that you should be yourself. Ooh, sure, am I showing that? Be yourself. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you have to be authentic, man. You need to be genuine, right? Think about the number of times that you've met someone and they seem pleasant enough, but you walk away thinking to yourself, well, I don't know, man. There's just something about that person. I can't put my finger on it. There's something about that person that just doesn't add up. That's the sign, that's a hallmark of a person who's not being themselves, who is not being genuine. And we know intuitively when someone isn't being genuine, right? So you have to be genuine. You have to be true to yourself. Now, again, we talk about context, right? And how important context is. So let's say, we can get caught up in this idea of, hey, context and being authentic. And I had a conversation recently on my podcast with Todd Do-It, and I encourage you to go listen to it, about being your authentic self in the workplace. And, I pointed out to him that when I was a young officer, just a young kid, making my way out of the ghettos, and now I'm an army officer, the behaviors that I would display and practice in the hood isn't the kind of behavior that you would practice in the officer's mess. And so you could go, yeah, well, you're being authentic. You're being yourself by being this tough dude from the ghetto. Yeah. Part of life, the whole purpose of life is growth. And so you have to recognize that, as I said earlier, context matters. You have to recognize when you need to modulate your behavior. You need to tamp down the not so savory, impressive behavior traits that you may be accustomed to displaying, and accentuate the best ones, right? Some person's confidence can come off as being cocky. I agree with you. And that's why, I said earlier as well that you have to actually do the work. Most people don't do the work in understanding how you come off to others, right? You really need to do that if you want to make a first impression. Because quite frankly, a good first impression, we all make a first impression. If you want to make a good first impression, because if there's one thing I dislike, is a cocky person. There's a huge difference between being cocky and being confident. Now, it is also true that sometimes you're just being confident, not cocky, and the other person thinks that you're being cocky. And you know what? There's not much you can do about that. That other person have some issues of self-esteem that they need to work on. So you all you can do is all you can do. You do your best. But yeah, I agree. Confidence can come off as being cocky. You need to do the work to figure out how you're coming across to others. So if 9 out of 10 people say you're cocky, yeah, you got a problem. You need to work on that. If 1 out of 10 says you're cocky, they have a problem, and you need to keep doing what you're doing. But remember that this journey of life, all of it is about growth, all of it. And so you have to do the work and recognize that, yep, first impressions last. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. What do you need to do to make sure that you're coming off and presenting yourself well, despite all the other factors like the unbiased, unconscious biases that will also impact how the person sees you? You have a big role to play, and you can't take yourself out of the equation at all. You have a role to play. All of us have a role to play. All of us size up someone in the blink of an eye, and they do the same to us. So how do we make sure that we come off in the best light? By doing the work. All right, so those are the thoughts I had. I wanted to share with you. If you think this was valuable, please share it with your friends, make a comment, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you next week as always. Warren, my brethren, great to see you. Hope you're all doing well down there in Cali. I know you're not close to the forest fires, but best of luck anyway. And my friends over here from the 876, Skinny Mommy and others, thank you for joining as well. Until we connect next week, yeah, man, keep on pushing.